Thank you very much once again for accepting talking to us. And thank you also on behalf of Hansen Bahia Foundation here in Cachoeira City. I really would like you to know a little bit about the establishment of the Fine Arts School. I was reading Professor Elizabeth George's book on modernism in Ethiopia, and so she was saying about the establishment of the school at the end of the 50s in 1957, right? And so if you can tell us a little bit how it was, and when Hansen Bahia went to Addis Abeba to start the graphic arts department, and how was he related to the art school and to the development of modernism in Ethiopia?
Good. Thank you, Emi, for giving me this chance. I'm happy to tell Bahia's story, which I have got from his students and his colleagues, whom some of them, most of them already passed, and one colleague, two of his colleagues are still alive, one in Ethiopia and the other in around Michigan in America. So from the images and from students, from his colleagues, I heard a lot about him, especially from the founder of our school and the then director of the school, Ato Bekele Salam, who with the German Cultural Institute brought him to Addis, invited him to the school to teach and to start to introduce engraving or woodcut technique in Ethiopia. So to begin with the Addis Ababa School of Arts at the time, now it is named after the founder, Bekele Salam. At that time it was Addis Ababa Art School during the Bahia's day. As you said, it is established in September, on the day of the emperor's birthday in June, around the end of June, and classes started at the Ethiopian New Year, which is September 1951. That means September 1958 in the European calendar. So the founder, Bekele Salam, at that time, he recently died 3 years ago, something like that, at the age of 95, 94. And he after he came from Chicago, he wanted to establish a formal modern art education school. And he talked to the emperor. He's very close with the emperor. His family was close. He was one of the noblemen. And the emperor was interested, and he showed a painting and drawing exhibition, which he brought from his students and himself. And the emperor from that time on, he helped him like 150, no, less than that. All in all, 150,000 birr at that time was very big money. And he established the school by inviting all foreigners in the beginning, most of them Europeans, and the only Ethiopian was he himself, the founder and the director. He's a painting teacher and watercolor. Then after 5 years, just 5 years later, that means in 1963, he invited an Italian called Professor Fumo, a painter from the technical school, and Hansen Bahia through the German Cultural Institute from Germany, and an Austrian sculptor, Austro-German sculptor, who was a wanderer by motorcycle coming from Europe down to South Africa on his journey. When he gets Ethiopia, he remained in Addis forever. So he was a sculptor who taught under Mansu, an Italian well-known modern sculptor. So these guys were among the first ones, and a German lady who also recently died in her late 90s, called Dettenberg, Eba Dettenberg. Another one, an Ethiopian calligrapher, a traditional calligrapher, but a giant guy, was called Gezu Bisrat. Were there. These were the among the professors after the school was established after 5 years, that means. So coming to Hansen Bahia, he arrived as a graphic department chair. Graphic, they call it graphic, but it is normally a woodcuts and engraving. Mm-hmm. That is not known before Bahia in Ethiopia. Bahia introduced this technique for the first time to this country. His students were still alive, especially whom he allowed very close to him. 3 of them are still, all of them are alive. 2 of them are still in Addis and 1 in Australia. Feleka Armade, Zariunetim Geta, and Tuluguya. These 3 guys are still, you can say, imitating or very resembling techniques with Bahia, just mixing Ethiopian elements in it. Otherwise, they remind us the techniques of Bahia. So he arrived around October 1963, and he stayed until 67. He left around 67. There were a disagreement between the energetic and very temperamental director and Bahia. The temperamental director couldn't tolerate him. When he came back for a vacation abroad, he came late, as he told me before he died. I interviewed him. So he was a little bit late, and between their dialogue, the director couldn't tolerate, and then he fired him like that. So he migrated. Anyway, during his stay, the bigger thing that Bahia is still remembered and will be remembered forever is his introduction of engraving and woodcut technique to Ethiopia. That is his legacy and his unique techniques, which is now adopted by these 3 living Ethiopian engravers and visual artists, still alive, you know, and this legacy still continues, and he's remembered after how many years still Bahia is alive in our school. And the other very interesting thing that I should tell you is, some of them were telling me, Bahia's mask, his face, his portrait is very close to Abraham Lincoln. So people were his colleagues especially used to call him Lincoln. So later on, during his stay, he was deliberately trimming his beard and his hair deliberately like Lincoln. So they were calling him Lincoln sometimes. So he deliberately did that. That is the other thing that I should tell you is what the director told me. He was always complaining perspective in anatomy class shouldn't be given. It destroyed my students. It destroyed my way of teaching and so on. He was always complaining on the meeting, complaining on the tea places with everybody. He himself and another giant Ethiopian or African painters like Skindel Bogazian and Gabriel Christos Destawer. At the same time, they were teaching at that time. That was the heyday of our school. So they were, three of them were really not interested in the academic, serious academic way of teaching process, especially this anatomy and perspective. Bahia was, his style was more of a modernist and an expressionist more of. So he always complaining that it is difficult for him to indoctrinate the academic perspective and rendering with the anatomically serious ways. That was what every colleague reminds me about him. Otherwise, he was a very socializing person. He was very close. He was always there. When the emperor was visiting frequently with his guests, many of Europeans, especially the non-aligned country leaders, were frequently coming, like the Yugoslavian leader and the Romanian, the Chinese. Many of them from East and West. Always when there is a guest, he is visiting the art school with them, the emperor. And during the end of the year, he himself is guest of honor when inauguration going on. So always the emperor used to know very close, Bahia. Yeah.
Yeah, so here we have this picture that is sent, which is part of the school, right? And we have the emperor, but yes. Maybe you can talk about this image.
Yes, the black suit, the director, yes, the director of our school, after whom the school is now called Ala Felege Salam. In between the shorter guy is the advisor of the emperor, Ras Umru. Behind him, the giant Bahia is visibly standing and walking from behind, and he's among the crowd of the noblemen and everybody around. This day was after a year or a couple of years after he came. At that time, he was 49 or 48 years old. He was so young. As you see, the emperor is coming from the main gallery to see the students in activity. Where Bahia is teaching at the backyard, they are coming from the main gallery. They are coming out. So the emperor was very close now. You see Bahia in the front, up on at the back, but it's very visible. Yeah, it is true that it resembles Lincoln, but here there is no enough beard. But later on, I'll try to find and send you sometime. The very look like Lincoln with a more deliberately trimmed beard. So you can see how close he was. Yeah. This yeah. Look his techniques. The modern engraving technique. Now this is one of his shows. I haven't seen in his bios wherever it is written. This is one of the most important shows of his engraving and woodcuts, where he showed at the main campus of the university, 1964, hundreds of best engravings. I have some of them. I have in my laptop. I will send you most of them. Very interesting, modernist, energetic, and vibrant engravings. So this is a one-man show that is. He showed at the Haile Selassie Creative Center, which still survives for various artistic activities, and he had a show there. This must be included in his biography, in his CV, which I haven't seen. One of the important shows. Even the keynote speaker was Gabriel Christos Desta at that time, the prominent painter and professor whom was teaching with him at that time. This is the leaflet that were distributed at the time. So it was collaborated with the German Cultural Institute, which is still active in our country culturally. So this is one of the important events which should be included. I mean, this meeting helped that adding one important point to his CV. So this must be added in his list. Yeah, I will send you later most of the works that have been shown, interesting engravings from Ethiopian stories and so on, shown on that very exhibition.
Sure, I think it's important to mention that in this exhibition is not mentioned in the CV, at least here in Brazil, and I think it's important for us to know that. And also, I also separate some images that comes from the collection here at Hansen Bahia Foundation, and here we have this engraving, this woodcut, which is with Ethiopian, and we have here, which was an exhibition of Hansen Bahia and his students that happened in Germany, I think, in the 60s. Wow.
Yeah.
And here we have a series of woodcuts made by him, and also I think there is this strong influence of Ethiopian culture or reference to Orthodox Church paintings, images, and icons. How do you see that? Because yes, for one side, he was bringing to Ethiopia the woodcut and engraving technique and the modernism also way of seeing things. But how do you see the influence of Ethiopian culture in his work?
A wonderful point, Emi. Even the piece that I'm seeing now and I'm watching now is from Ethiopian warriors with a warrior gesture and costume and spear and everything with Ethiopian traditional techniques and canons. When he arrived, when he invited to Addis, to Ethiopia, the first thing that they did is the deputy minister at the time, the Ministry of Education and Fine Arts were together. The emperor gave a serious place for fine arts at the time. So education always goes with fine arts. So if there is a minister there, the deputy minister works for fine arts alone. That was a golden day anyway. But as soon as he came, the deputy minister sent him with people to see around, to visit Ethiopia. And that time was very important for Bahia for the coming years that he collected. He was excited by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church the collections of artifacts, paintings, and so many treasures, and he was excited. As you see here, even if they are frontal, they are like less 3D, 2D stuffs, and the portraitures, the eyes are very typical to the Orthodox Church canons. They are not frontal. I mean, they are not profile. When profile, it is a negative image or an enemy. It must be two eyes. What a position, regardless of any position of the subject. But the face should be 3/4 or frontal. Otherwise, it is an enemy or a negative image, and so on. There are canons like that, very interesting ones. He picked them. They are rendered in a modern way. They are not naturalistic. They are not realistic. It is they are conceptual ones, you can say. They painted it. They drew it conceptually. They are not mimicking the natural world. They are translating, interpreting into artistic pieces, artistic projects. So he not he only, but Skender Bogassian, who at that time came from Paris, picked the same thing. He had the same tour. For a long time he was in Paris, so he had different views and different elements. When he came, he picked the styles, elements, and narrations, and so on, and inculcated into his works, and the same to Bahia. So they both did same fusions in their already existing techniques and beliefs and renderings. So both of them were automatically changing. They stayed both of them stayed 3-4 years in this country, but their influence is still alive because of that strong conversion, strong creative fusion they produced at the time. So you can see that modern stylistic painting and drawing in Ethiopian Orthodox Church, as same time very various elements and motives in traditions of different places in Ethiopia. So he has got the chance to visit around. Look how he fused the big eyes, the vertical iconic faces, and the elements into his stylistic approaches, and he has got it fit to his technique. Amazing, yeah. The same way you can see this in the people whom I told you are alive still now. His students amazingly resembles. They are living in him still. That's very interesting.
Could you tell me more about this sort of strong influence of the images and icons of Orthodox Ethiopian Church in modernism in Ethiopia? Because since the early modernism, as I was reading Elizabeth George's book, she was saying about this idea of nationalism, identity, and modernism.
That's true. That's true. Most of the beliefs and canons, as I told you, in the imageries, are very interesting. For example, eyes, it says, the Orthodox Church painting canons, eyes are the source of light. You can interpret this into different techniques and approaches. So eyes are the biggest elements on the face, and you can first attracted by the eye of all the figurative, be it portrait. First, you are attracted because of its bigness and its attractive and bold approach. So eyes are very, very, very important. Lines are traditionally very important. They are bold, and most of the ideas and figures are expressed by lines rather than paints. So this very element also, I think and I believe, attracted and helped Bahia too, and not only the others. Bahia was interested by the linear expression, the importance of lion in the long-standing culture of the traditional church painting in Ethiopia. So they are very simple, very close to modern. They're modern by themselves, unlike the European prefix to them. But they're very modern. They're very selective. They're conceptual than perceptual. They are bold. Yeah, how he interpreted into his approaches. He's comfortable in his vision. I mean, when you see them, I can see through these imageries the Ethiopian traditional painting styles. How he took the hair with the face. It's not the halo. It's the hair style should be painted this way, but he interpreted into his own style, and the body proportions, the importance of the skull, the head, the portrait, dominating the rest of the body, and the bold lines with the different grading engravings. It's amazing.
And how do you see this sort of contradiction perhaps at the beginning of the fine art school, where the curriculum was basically a European curriculum, and most part of this traditional visual, well, all the tradition of Orthodox church painting was somehow excluded, and at the same time it appears in the work of Hansen Bahia and also in the work of Skünder Bogossian. Also this idea that early modernism was rejecting somehow this Orthodox painting, seen as something old and not modern, and how there is also this dimension of, or really symbolic and theological dimension, which is put aside, but somehow maybe it comes back in a way, in another way with Skünder Bogossian. And you mentioned that Skünder Bogossian was teaching at the same time as Hansen Bahia. So did they exchange? Was also maybe Hansen Bahia influenced by Skünder Bogossian?
Both went their own way. When Bahia arrived, has his own grounds, really strong ground. He added, he has got compatible, fertile elements for his already existing way of engraving, way of woodcut. He enriched. He has got a fertilizer in elements, in styles, in stories, in motives. So he fertilized it. Skünder is another way. They went their own way, both without pushing each other or without entangling each other. But the most important thing you mentioned now is this contradiction. Being attracted to the European academic discipline and rejecting or forgetting or neglecting one's own long-standing treasure is always a question. Until now, it is a question and a topic of discussion and big meetings and analysis and so on and so on. But for me, it is one of the reflections of the bigger confusion that the South had been mistaken for a long time. When we think education or knowledge in general, we jumped into Western or European ocean, thinking that civilization or knowledge as a whole is European or Western. So that's the general, the bigger umbrella of neglecting oneself and going somewhere or being doctrinated by an alien or foreign European stuff. So in education, we have a problem now, still an ongoing conversation and debate is going on still. Our education system is totally destroyed and neglected now. Everybody from every side, individuals and everybody, the government itself, is pushing now, let's go back to the roots. Art is among that mistake, if so. We now we have seen. The debate is open. Everybody's trying to see that, to correct, I can say, that mistake. On the other way, it is sellable still. The Skender way of Bahia, way of Gebrekistos is sellable and unique still. So the new generation now is tending. I can see that tending to go and search and see that way, and the school is also tending to change to see things that way. Unlike that day, they start seeing just recently all these achievements, including bias. So the time I think came after a long time.
Yes, it's interesting. And I was thinking also about Gebrekristos Desta, who is also a proeminent modernist, but he has a very different view because he was not defending this sort of reference to the traditions, but the whole influence of German expressionists on his work, but also we can say that Hansen Bahia brought with him this expressionist influence as well, and how differently they work with this reference.
Absolutely, you're right. It is a big topic by itself. It's a big theme. It can be discussed, can be written on. Bahia came and with a fresh eye, with a fresh mind, and start easily. Has got so many things to pick and to interpret and to fuse with what he has and achieved a wonderful production. And somebody came from Europe with German element, the German expressionist at the time, and trying to defend that technique and rejecting or not to choose the traditional one, and he has a hard time for some time, But then the lifestyle changed. I mean, the military regime came and life changed. And he has got narratives to communicate, narratives than techniques, to communicate the public. He was courageous enough to depict, to be a voice for the public, and that thematic, the subject than the technique, saved him from the animosity of the public. In the beginning, people didn't like this is not ours. What is abstract? We don't like this stuff, and so on and so on. Even the university students had a tough time in the university. He had a show and he had a talk there. There was a big animosity against that strange style. So by the time went, there was a red terror and so many griefs and problems in the country during the military regime. So he became the voice of through whatever technique he did, but it was obvious to express the grief and the atrocity of the regime against the people. So that stuff made him, again back to the public eyes, the public understanding, and finally that atrocity from the government in different way victimized him to immigrate and die abroad. So all this stuff, should be analyzed and can be written in a rich way. Yeah.
And how about this idea of decolonizing the curriculum? Because now I think it's a debate in whole African art school, which most of them were created by Europeans also. And how is this debate in Ethiopia? And also this idea of the discourse of exceptionalism in Ethiopia, because Ethiopia was not colonized, but at the same time there was all this Western influence or Westernization. This idea of Seletania civilization, which was considered the Western way, and how does it influence nowadays the idea of the school or idea of decolonizing the curriculum?
Yeah, very good question. This theme, this issue as an issue, is lately recognized by many. Because, as you know, physically, politically, Ethiopia is not colonized, of course, but voluntarily, mentally, educationally, customs, and so on, you cannot say we are not colonized voluntarily. So this voluntary colonization has been denied by many because of the long-standing pride. We are not this, we are not that, and so on. So voluntarily, so many things are eroded mentally, eroded, culturally, artistically, and so on. So the question of colonization and decolonization discourse came to the table very late. Now many start, even in the academia, it is very late. It came, and now the debate is going on. The debate is going on, including the art school. Now recently, you can say very recent, just 5-6 years, the debate now came, and every year there is a curriculum committee, a curriculum meeting, curriculum discussion now everybody, I think, believed or understood the necessity of decolonizing the curriculum and every consequences that comes with it. Sometimes when you are taken, unknowingly and voluntarily, your losses could be noticed very late. That's exactly what happened to us. But to be late, it's good to be late than none. So the discussion is started. Now even partly the curriculum is changing, on the process of changing now, and looking into ourselves, including the one you see is the United Mgeta, one of the very close. He's crazy about Bahia. Almost he's when Bahia left in 67, he was so depressed, and he gave up going to the graphic class, and he joined the painting class. He didn't want to be tutored by an American lady who replaced Bahia at that time, came from the Chicago Art Institute, graduated in graphic, but he didn't want, after Bahia, he didn't want to go to anywhere's class, so he continued printing by himself, still working. Is still our calling, our senior calling in our school. He's getting old anyway. He's crazy about Bahia. This is Zerhun Ngeta.
Zerhun Ngeta, he was at the same time, he was a student of Bahia, but also of Gebe Christos Desta, Iskander Bogosian. So yes. He would be just the second generation of, this modernists.
Yes. Yes, is the one of the most privileged guy to get from everybody without going to Europe for additional education. He remained here, and he was a very close friend of these three, and he was getting everything from them by staying here. So he has his own way of doing things, but Bahia has a different place in his life. He's always on our team when we meet, everywhere Bahia is there in his mouth.
And in his work also, there is this reference to this Orthodox Church tradition, and even the name Walks and Go, which is connected to this specific Ethiopian tradition. Could you say something about that?
Sure. This technique is first. By the way, this is from the pieces of weavers. Traditional weavers are using for clothes making. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. 2 by 2, the weavers are using this stuff. What do you call it in English? I don't know. Anyway, it is a tool for weavers. Traditional weavers are using for fabric making. So for the first time, Skinder used it for making art, replacing the parchment with a long vertical format. And then his students continued working on it. Before this, and sometimes until now, he's making engravings and woodcuts. Very close technique. You can't differentiate sometimes with Bahia's. So when he paints, because after Bahia left, he joined Skinder's studio. So after that, he's painting. He's printing as well, he's painting also. So this one's from the, as you said, from the Ethiopian Orthodox Church stories and motives. He's borrowing motives and stories, and sometimes creating his own stories and trying to say something. He's attaching parchments on this tool, and then he's painting on that. As you see, the faces with big eyes and other motifs like dices and some elements from the talismanic paints, talismanic renderings. I can see. As you know, the church differentiates the traditional Ethiopian Orthodox Church painting and the talismanic practices should not be from the belief point of view, not from the aesthetic. They have different meanings. They have different voices and different approaches and so on. So anyway, he can fuse and he will fuse and depict it in this way. Yeah.
Yes, very interesting. And he is the steward teacher. He was teaching for many years at Fine Arts School.
Yeah. He was since then. Even during Bahia allowed him to teach when he's not around. And from that time, when he was a student too, he serves as a student teacher. Bahia allowed him. He's very creative, and he relied on him, and he allowed him to teach. At that time, he was a young guy, was working serving as a teacher. And then for a long time, now he's getting very old. Next year, maybe he will be retired by himself. He doesn't want to come. He's getting tired. So the golden wax, you said, in the literary tradition, in our literary tradition, the golden wax for a long time in the church literary practice is used by giving as a wax and gold practice for a gold processing in expressing an idea. You will write or you will say by a poem or about a simple verse with a double meaning, with a hidden meaning in it and official meaning above, like a gold is wrapped with a wax, like that. So a soft meaning which looks like, which resembles the hidden one. You have to take some time to get the real meaning. So that is expressed first in literature, but it transmits into visual and other genres in art. It went in, but basically it is, you find it in a literary technique. They practiced it for a long time, and in a court or in a higher place, like it could be church, it could be palace, it could be in a nobleman's, palaces, houses, mansions. When you afraid of saying something serious, which is dangerous maybe sometimes, you wrap it up with a resembling word and you transmit it. Sometimes they got it and you will be in jail, and sometimes it takes years that it saves you, things are past. So not to be endangered yourself, you transmit it in a golden wax way. Most of the time in a non-democratic society, things are very dangerous. To be a genuine person, to be a man of truth, to say the truth to the power is very dangerous. So most of the minstrels, the singers, traditional singers, especially, they are masters of golden wax. So when they are playing in front of the, singing in front of the authority, the power, they speak the truth, but the truth is hidden with the wax, in a wax. So it takes, a wisdom to unpack that expression. Sometimes the people from the authority are highly educated and they get it easily, and most of the time they get away with it. And after a year or two, another person exposed it. This singer said this, and he told the truth to the power, and so on. So that's a way out of being an integrated personality in front of a dangerous situation, So that is a tricky stuff, composed by an artistic, discipline.
Yeah, it's an art, but it's also a riddle.
Yes.
And
yes.
also I see that you are a sculptor yourself. And could you tell me also about your work and about your influences?
Yeah. I am. It was during my time. It was the available thing is study under people who came from the academia, who studied the Beaux-Arts style school, and then I left for Moscow. Of course, the same Beaux-Arts style old academia. Of course, I have to be serious in order to get my paper, and sometimes it's not bad to be handy, to be trained in a Renaissance way, because I'm 100% sure I'm coming back home, so it might be a braid, being a serious trainer in that way. And for myself, I was interested the other way around. So I was practicing, even if my professor was not interested, in a contemporary way. So after I came back, I finished and academia and came back with my MFA. I joined the art school and practicing my own way, totally different. Unless otherwise there is a commission, a public commission or government commission, which makes you alive. You have to get money in order to be alive and work whatever you do. So for myself, I am practicing the contemporary installations. I do installations and conceptual productions. I have. Maybe we'll try to send you. I'm practicing that way. I learning from the problems that people like Gabriel Christos faced. I have tried. I've experimented. Including golden wax and other traditional wisdoms, inculcating into the contemporary approaches, and showing to the ordinary public and telling them just a little bit. And I found that I discovered that the ordinary people, the public, by far is wise than the people in the university. This is without exaggeration. Because of the clean and clear mind, without, a hypocritic, all I know it stuff, the ordinary public wants to listen something, want a clue a little bit, and then they interpret it into their life. I'm working about life, about very, it's not sophisticated, it's not complicated. I do pick an idea from our life, which is rich in its negative and positive way, and playing with it and expressing with a daily life material in a contemporary way. So I found it, people loves it. We cannot prejudge that people like only realistic, photographic, and so on. No, if you are a good leader and smart enough to give them a clue, to make them wise, they go 100 times forward than you. So I discovered that stuff, but it's very difficult to deal with the elites in the university, because they think they know it. They think they know everything. They closed their doors. It's very difficult to deal with them. So I discovered that stuff. So I'm practicing in a contemporary way, using very ordinary themes, and sometimes, of course, in a elite standard, but that is between the art community. Anyhow, the people are expecting that. That makes me happy. Expecting something new, something new after I have tried to lead them, not from lifelike stuff, which is ordinary everywhere. Anyway, and so on and so on. I will send you anyway some.
Fascinating. I really would like to see your sculptures and your work. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Professor Bekele. It was really a great pleasure to have you with us. So I hope we can continue our dialogue soon.
Yeah.
And I'm very looking forward to see your work of art. Also.
Sure. I will send you what I think it is connected. We are on the same global echelon, so we read each other easily. So thank you so much for giving me this chance, and we will continue. Definitely, we have so many things in common. We should see this way in order to be strong and right. Otherwise, we'll send you the whole, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
You too. Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.